choice to choose a private company,
right.
you're automatically pushed in. That's what happened in the Soviet Union. That's what happened in those places.
Penalized financially in the bill to do that. And let me just, I'm sorry, Lynn, I know this is where we're going on this, but let me just add another point because I'm very passionate about this. The insurance company has been making decisions about whether to treat people based on their budget, based on their bottom line. When someone's health and wellness is left to decide, decided based on whether or not someone can get a bigger bonus, that's a problem. That is very dangerous territory to be in.
And that's why they're going to cut money out of Medicare to pay for a public option.
No. What they're doing is they're taking the subsidies. That's unfair and it's disingenuous because they're taking the subsidies. I read the bill. Congressman Frank Pallone, my old boss, is a sponsor. What the subsidies, they are taking the subsidies away from the insurance companies and giving them directly to the people to then purchase insurance.
But do you know how people get their coverage? Exactly. They get Medicare coverage because private insurance picks up 28 cents on the dollar. That won't be there.
No,
you cannot cover more people for less money.
You know,
it doesn't make sense.
As I said, we could discuss this for the entire hour. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to continue the conversation, but we'll have you back in the new year, and I'm sure this debate will still be going on. Of course, one thing that we do have to touch on is the recently announced exit strategy out of Iraq and seemingly into Afghanistan, but with an exit plan in effect. A lot of people, Ed, said when President Obama was first elected and sworn into office, oh, he's going to get us out right away. It's different once you get in and you see what the security concerns are. So do you agree with the decision that he's made now?
The president gets a qualified grade for committing more troops to the situation. As you suggest, he was caught in a snare. His campaign rhetoric was, Afghanistan's the good war, this is where we need to go, this is where Al-Qaeda is. Well, it turns out Al-Qaeda is really in northwest Pakistan, not in Afghanistan. He's committed 30,000 more troops, but very, very bad conditions attend that because he says, July 2011, we're going. Not so much for us. I mean, he gave a speech where he talked to the American public. It's the people on the ground in Afghanistan and Pakistan who have to wonder, are you Americans going to stick with us? Because the Taliban have said, we're keeping score. Whoever's with the Americans, when they leave, we'll be back. And guess what they do? They cut heads off.
We have a lot of other issues there. It's a critical region to our interests, obviously, and we have a lot of issues with corruption, a lot of issues with education. People who don't have a clue about what's going on, they view us as the enemy automatically. And you have other people who are looking for direction. Right now, you have an administration in Afghanistan that is pathetic at best. And you know, we're trying to handle several problems on different fronts. I think that he made the right choice given the set of circumstances he's faced with. Iraq is not the problem really in the region. It never was. We spent $700 billion on Iraq.
Can you tell me why he committed 30,000 instead of the 40,000 troops that McChrystal asked for?
I'm sorry?
Why did he give 30,000 instead of 40,000 troops? He hasn't explained that.
I don't know. Last time I was in the Oval Office, he didn't bring that up. But
well,
sorry.
Yes, but he didn't speak to the American people either.
It costs $1 million a year per soldier, so we do have budgetary constraints as we look at this war. I mean, that's a reality. And also, NATO has agreed to increase the number, many of the NATO members in particular have agreed to increase the number of troops allocated on their part.
But I think what Ed is saying, why didn't he listen to what his folks, his leadership over there was saying to do? And that was your point.
We waited 100 days to get a 25% reduction in the lowest threshold that McChrystal asked for.
McChrystal asked for 10,000 troops. It was actually, he had scenarios from 10,000 to 80,000.
No, I'm sorry. It was from 40,000 to 65,000. That's what it was.
It was 10 to 80 was what I have been told by my friend in the Gons.
When we started this discussion at the top of the hour, we were talking about 2009, but I want to point out that this is also the last year of this decade. So very quickly before we say goodbye, I do want to take a look back at some of the highlights and lowlights. And sadly, at the very beginning of this decade, we were mired in controversy that involved President Bush and Al Gore at the time. And then soon after September 11th, we found ourselves in conflict in Iraq, and a lot of that controversy still continues today. Renee, what do we need to do to move forward now into the next new decade and have a different sense
We just need to communicate better. I mean, even here, we're going back and forth or whatever. I'm not sure that people are really actively listening to each other, really caring about what's really going on. Steve made a good point about health care and dealing with some family members. I've done that too with my husband with Lou Gehrig's disease, so I can relate. But the bottom line is we need to actively listen, pull together, reach across the aisle, not do the PR marketing piece, really have some substance and get the job done that we need to do. And care more about each other.
How do you think historians, Ed, will reflect on this past decade?
Much as they did the second decade of the last century, when you had the First World War. You had a lot of forces in motion, and the power relationships of the world started to change. And that's what you're seeing here now. You're seeing the rise of China and India. You're seeing a lot of different forces come into play.
That's scary for the United States. As we looked at 2010, do you think people, Steve, should be optimistic?
I think they'll be optimistic. There's nowhere else to go but up at this point. But I think there are a lot of other conflicts in the international community have to worry about. I think China actually, even though economically, they have a lot of internal strife between the Muslim community. You're going to see a lot of issues that'll impact us, in the future down the road.
I think as a small business owner, I think there actually, despite all the news reports, I think there are opportunities out there, and I think people should look at some of the programs that have been implemented and see how they can benefit.
All right. On that note, I'm sorry to rush you through so much to talk about, so little time. Thank you, everyone, for being with us, and have a great year. I want to thank all of you for spending the last year with us once again in our new venue and in our new format. From all of us here at It's Your Call, we wish you a very happy New Year.